Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Listen, first thing, let's address the elephant in the room. I took a little tumble Saturday night, so I have some brush burns. They're starting to fade, but yes, they're still there, but it's fine. We're good, I'm alive, happy, healthy, slay. So we don't need to worry about that. Moving on to the meat of the video, I'm going to be doing a May wrap up for you guys. Now, I filmed this yesterday and I spent like 45 minutes to an hour doing it, and I accidentally filmed it in slow-mo. So we are refilming today, and because of the egregious amount of books I read 28 books this month. I'm not gonna do it in a typical fashion. I've divided them into 3 to 4 categories, and I'm gonna talk about them in that way because not only had I already put them back on my shelf before I realized it was a whole
hour-long slow-mo video,
but also this way I don't over talk, because them being divided in their group will give you at least a little preface to how I felt about them. And then, yeah. So we're gonna start at the bottom with books that will possibly never cross my mind again. There's also like disappointment in this group. Let me rephrase that. Now that I'm looking at the pile, this ranges from 3 to 2 stars. Some of them will literally never cross my mind ever again, and some of them were just a disappointment. They fell really flat for me. So nothing against the book, really, more of just like, I feel like it could have been done better. First off in this stack, this is why I had to like reword that, because the first one on the stack I have is If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. This book is blowing up on TikTok. A lot of people love it, and I can understand why they love it, but I felt like that the ending was very underdeveloped, and I just like didn't feel connected to the story or the ending or the main plot point in it, because something happens and then the aftermath is described over 5 days. Not even 5 pages, I mean. Like how do you feel pain if it's like 5 pages worth of explanation? You know what I mean? So I felt like if she was gonna make a heartbreaking novel, she needed to really commit to it, and I feel like that commitment wasn't in there. I didn't feel my heart and soul getting ripped out, and if I'm gonna read a sad book, I want my heart and soul to be ripped out, crushed, thrown in a blender, under a car, like smeared everywhere on the on the pavement. Like my face. Anyway, 90% of the book was just day-to-day life. So that one just kind of like fell flat for me. I think I gave it 3 stars because I understood it, but it just wasn't it for me. The next book in this pile is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I do enjoy dark romance. This just, I think possibly because of its length, like I didn't feel connected to the characters at all, and the romance happened so fast and wasn't very flushed out. I don't know. Basically, this is a Peter Pan retelling where Wendy is with Hook instead of Peter. Well, Peter's her dad. Anyways, long story short, this is a dark romance. I know it was like kind of viral on TikTok, and that's why I picked it up. I don't know if the rest of the series is better. I have the rest, so if you've read them, let me know what books are the best, because I need some motivation to finish this series. I don't know if that was specific enough, but I got 28 books to cover. Okay, the next thing I have in this pile is Carrie by Stephen King. I want to start reading Stephen King because if you watch Haley Pham, she started picking up Stephen King books and she's loved them. So I was like, okay, let me dip my toe, and I picked Carrie because I love the Chloe Grace Moretz movie. I love it. So I knew I was gonna like this storyline, but I feel like the book is just not good. Like, it was very slow moving. Like, there is like 5 pages at one point dedicated to just explaining this man setting up a pulley system. Literally, like, he pulled the rope against the wood. Like, it's 5 pages of just that, like just explaining this man doing it when it could have been something else. I feel like it moved really slow. And also there was parts where Stephen King was like sexualizing periods and young female girls, and I was like, now hold on, pause. Right. So I didn't really enjoy this. It was a disappointment for me. I don't know what to read. Like, I want to read more of him because I know he's a critically acclaimed author, but like this as a start is a bad start. Okay, Kiss Thief. I don't have much to say about this. It was like 2.7 stars. It's not even It's 275 pages. I did not care about these characters. It was so short, and this man is actually kind of foul to Francesca. I read it because it was supposed to be a mafia romance for a video. He's not in the mafia. It's mafia adjacent, truthfully, and it is arranged marriage, but this man is literally so horrible to her. And like, that's really all I have to say. All right, sorry, I'm moving quickly through these because if I didn't like them, like what else do I have to say? Next, I have the Maid series. I think maybe I just hyped this up too much in my brain, but truthfully, I just kind of thought they were a little boring. The Maddest Obsession in my vlog I talked about was my favorite, and it was because the two characters had like the most interesting dynamic and tension, but I don't know if this is just because I read them so quickly and that's just like, you know, sometimes the situation you read them in makes you dislike them more. And so I read them all back to back fairly quickly. I just found that they were boring. I didn't think they were bad. For me, they were just like kind of slow and I didn't like fall in love with the characters. So I don't know. To each their own, truthfully, because I know a lot of people love this series. Actually, those characters may never cross my mind again. Now moving to the middle ground. I don't have a name for this pile because it kind of is another spread between like, these were all very much better than that pile, but some still were just like, just kind of fell flat for me. But some of them are like, yeah, they were really good. They're just not in my 10 out of 10 would recommend level, if that makes sense. So in this pile, I have Dear Erin by Mariana Zapata. I am in my Mariana Zapata era. In the past like 2 months, I've read 8 of her books. And I was actually really excited this because the premise interested me so much, but most of it is literally like letters and like texting. Is that it? Texting. Like we don't get literally dialogue until 200 and like something pages into this book. And that just bothered me more than I thought it would. And then also, this is something I'm noticing with every once in a while in her books. Like I didn't feel the romance. It was a slow burn, yes, but I feel like it was friend, last like couple pages, oh, they're in love, if that makes sense. So I didn't feel like the kind of growing tension between the two and like the growing feelings, at least from Erin's side. I kind of saw it on Ruby's side and it made really sense for me, but I just did not feel his feelings. Like that didn't really like, that didn't make sense to me. So in this pile, I have The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. For a similar reason, this I enjoyed more than Dear Erin, but I kind of put it here because it gave me the same thing. Like I felt like this whole book, they felt like friends. This is Marriage of Convenience, and the whole book, they feel like they start as like enemies, or like they just like don't like each other very much. And you can see them becoming friendly, and I got that, but I never got the bridge between friend and like lover, like if that makes sense. So I put this in this tier because I really liked it. Some people love it, but it didn't give me, you know, a real slow burn. I just felt like I was reading about friends. Also in this pile, I have So Not Meant to Be by Megan Quinn. And this is so funny because this is the second book in the Kane Brothers trilogy. And the first one you've probably seen everywhere. It was viral on TikTok. Almost all these books have gone viral on TikTok at some point. But this is a workplace romance that follows JP and Kelsey. And I don't know why a lot of people don't like this book. Like I don't know the reasoning, if that makes sense. Like I didn't love it, but my reasoning is because I thought Kelsey was honestly just kind of mean and a little annoying. And I kind of really like JP. I love the whole pigeon plot line. Like that literally saved the day. If it wasn't for the pigeon, like I don't know if I would feel the same way. I just love pigeons, and it was honestly so cute of JP to like want to save the pigeons. But I felt like she was too harsh on him sometimes. Obviously every romance hero does make mistakes and then grovels, which, you know, that's just the way it happens. But I felt like even before he was making his like, you know, his mistake or his downside, like she was just judging him so harshly. So that's kind of put this in the pile because I like JP. I did not really like Kelsey, and I didn't dislike it. Like the spice was really good. Had me feeling some type of way, so I feel like it had to go here where I'm like, not 10 out of 10 would recommend, but 'twas enjoyable. The other ones I have in this pile, these kind of go a little bit separately. I'm gonna divide this into a fourth category between, like, this is the difference between 4 stars and like 4.5 to 5 stars. That's what this division is, which is, it's really small. So First in this pile, I have the first two books in the Brutal Birthright series. These are in this pile because I really did like Brutal Prince, but Stolen Heir didn't do it for me as much, and I don't know why, because I liked Nessa. I think it was just I had read too many romances in a row, but also I just didn't find the romance as interesting as I did in this. I really liked Calamaneda, but Nessa and Mikolash, I don't know. I didn't really care for them as much. I did love Nessa Slay Ballerina, but I thought this one plot-wise also was just more interesting. So these are kind of like towing the edge, because I'm definitely gonna read the rest of the series. But Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This one is really like hard to put in one of these categories because it was really good. I just thought for an adult book, some of the dialogue was very corny and like made me cringe a little bit, but I think the story is so cute and it's iconic and I'm excited for the movie. Okay, next I have I'll Always Be With You by Monica Murphy. I actually absolutely love this. It was better than Sylvie's book. This follows Carolina, who's also Slay Ballerina. What's with all the ballerinas? Like, I love them, but like, where are they coming from? She slayed, and honestly, I loved Wes. Even though like there were so many silly things he did, like he just wasn't communicating, and if he did, like so many like things would be easier. But honestly, I still loved him. Like he was still like so cute and sweet, and so I don't know, that's like, it's not like perfect, and West isn't perfect, but I still like really loved him, even though I feel like I should. Next, this is the last one I have in this tier, and honestly I considered moving it up to the top tier, but I don't think I'm going to. Next I have Marriage for One by Ella Mays. I so thoroughly enjoyed this. This was my first ever marriage of convenience. See, this is the difference between the Wall of Winnipeg and this one. Like, I felt the romance building where I didn't in the Wall of Winnipeg and me. And this one was like was honestly still kind of a slow burn. Like, it wasn't like fast romance. But while it is thick, the book itself was fast paced. Like, there's a lot of whole other things going on, which I really enjoyed. And this is literally the grumpiest Grumpy Sunshine ever. Like, she literally counts his smiles and it's like 4. Like, if you like a Grumpy Sunshine, then you should probably read this, because this is like the grumpiest Grumpy Sunshine, but he's so protective. Ah! You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Now moving into this tier, I'm just gonna call this tier 10 out of 10 would recommend, because not all of them are 5 stars, but they're like pretty close to 5 stars. The first books I have in this tier are the Naturals series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This slayed so hard. If you read The Inheritance Games, like, why haven't you read this series? This series is so much more interesting, so much more fun, and I loved the romance subplot in these way more than the romance subplot in The Inheritance Games. Like, sorry, Avery Jameson, but Cassie and you know who? They slayed so hard. I loved them. Anyways, this fall, if you haven't heard of this, this is a YA series, but I feel like it's a little bit on the older side because it involves serial killers, like in lots of detail. Anyways, it follows 4 or 5 kids who have these natural abilities at reading people and stuff like that. And so they're recruited by the FBI to solve cold cases, but through their like personal lives, they kind of get involved in current cases. So it was so interesting and fun, and I loved all the characters except for like one of them. She was kind of annoying, but it's okay. I loved it. It was so good, and y'all should check it out. I read like 2 of those in like one day. The next 2 books I have are my Mariana Zapata top tier books. I have From Lukov with Love, and wait for it, this is one of my favorite Mariana Zapata books. I loved Wait for it. Oh my god, it was so worth the 630 pages it was. It follows Diana Casillas, who's in like she's in another book, and she's related to the girl from Colty. So slay, I love it. And it takes place in the town from Under Lock. I love the little interconnected thingies. Anyway, so it follows her, and she gets custody of 2 little boys, and they just move, and they have a grumpy neighbor. But I love a good book with little kids in it, like Louie. And I love that they're so protective of her. I literally, like, the kids made this book. Even if, like, there was no romance in it, like, just Louie and Josh, I think it is, like, literally, they made the book. It was so good. I loved them so much. And then Lukov with Love. Who doesn't love From Lukov with Love? I love figure skating. This wasn't as good as Wait for It for me, but it's okay because figure skating slays. Like, I thought it was the plot so interesting. Also, I'm so sorry. I'm just realizing that this now, if things aren't focusing, I'm gonna be screwed when I edit this. I'm gonna be really annoyed. But too bad, I've already almost finished. Next, I have 3 books by Christina Lauren in this tier. I read Something Wilder, which I loved way more than I thought I was gonna like love. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Like, it is a second chance romance, but there's like a whole mystery treasure hunt plot. Like, say what? Like, it was really fun, and I loved the Leo, the MC, the male MC in this. Like, he was so cute and sweet, and like the tension that Lily and Leo have, like, they were giving, and I loved it. The other 2 books I have in the top tier are, I reread The Soulmate Equation, which is a 5-star read for me. I absolutely love this book. It's my favorite Christina Lauren book, and I reread it because the sequel, The True Love Experiment, came out. This is Fizzy's book. When I tell you, I like literally squealed out loud when I found out Fizzy was getting a book. I love this universe. And again, with little kids like Juno Slade. And then there's a second little kid in this one because the guy is a single dad and she's a single mom, and they're besties, and oh my god, they're so good. And actually, I loved in this that you get Jess and River's full duo DNA score. I love Jess and River. This follows Fizzy, who is a romance author who's looking for inspiration, and she meets a director who wants to make a reality show about her life because she has a big fan base and she's single, and he thinks it will be fun for her to watch or have a romance-based reality TV show about her life. But he's like, Fizzy, single dad, and low-key kind of grumpy sunshine. And I think he's British. I'm like pretty sure he's British. Anyway, next I have the first 2 books in the Windy City series, and I'm gonna be really honest, this was pretty good, but it really got bumped up to this tier because this was so good. The spice in these are both really good, but this follows Xander's, who's a hockey player, and Stevie, who is a flight attendant on his team's plane, and so they're kind of like low-key forbidden romance, but they're also enemies to lovers, and they're so silly and funny. Like, they should not be that silly and funny, but they are. And it's good spice. And it's kind of cute. Like, Xander's, like, even when he, like, and him and Stevie, like, aren't even, like, doing nothing, he's, like, he's, like, really protective of her. Oh, I love a protective man. Anyways, and then The Right Move, this laid so effing hard. Ryan, the male main character of this, reminds me a lot of the male main character in Icebreaker, because first off, A, the spice, 10 out of 10, but also B, Ryan is so attentive and just remembers everything for her and takes care of her. Like, she has to move into his apartment because she has nowhere to live and she doesn't want to move, and Ryan is an NBA pretty much all-star, is rich as hell and has so much room, so her friend Stevie, he's also her friend Stevie's brother. Or Stevie! He's Stevie's brother! So she moves in and he just takes care of her. Like, she only really likes iced coffee, so every morning when he makes coffee, he makes her a glass or a mug, a cup, and puts it in the fridge so it's cold and doesn't get watered down. Like, literally, no man will ever do that. And that's why it's so good. So this one was so good that they're both, this one's really good as well. It's not top tier, but because this is also top tier, like, the series is top tier. Almost done. Last 2 books. I read I think the only fantasy books in this month. I read These Infinite Threads by Tahara Mafi. This is the sequel to This Woven Kingdom, which I really enjoyed. I read that last spring when it came out, something like that. So it had been a while since then that I read this, so it took me a minute to get into it because it's a really complicated magic system, but I love all the side characters in this. Like, they're so funny and fun and just so enjoyable to read about, and the romantic tension is so good. Like, YA fantasy romance hits so much different. Like, the tension is there, but there's something about Tahara Mafi that she like toes the line between YA and new adult. Like, there's nothing sexually explicit. She'll give the whole tension, like physical touch, like moment that it needs. And it was so good. I absolutely love these characters and I'm excited for the next one. I definitely check out the series. The 28th book I've read this month is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I'm gonna be real honest with you guys, I have maybe 100 pages left, but once I'm done filming this, I'm literally gonna sit down and finish it. So I haven't read the ending, but I've read literally almost the whole book. But it counts because today's May 31st. So I'm gonna finish this today. It'll be my 28th book in May. But I am so glad that I finally sat down and took the time to read this. It's so, it makes me so reminiscent of the old dystopian author days, like where literally no character's safe. Like in the original Hunger Games, Divergent, like people, like characters are like not safe, and it just raises the stakes so much higher. So I really enjoyed like how deep into the world you get, because you genuinely don't know if your favorite character is gonna live. And while it's like kind of like sad, like you obviously don't want your favorite character to die, but like knowing that like there's a possibility they will just like immerses you so much more into the book. And so I haven't really gotten so deep into a universe in a long time, and this like brought me back to that feeling where I'm like, oh my god, like deep into it. I feel like nowadays a lot of YA fantasy, like you're kind of set, like you know your favorite characters are gonna like make it through the end. But I don't know, maybe I'm reading the wrong YA fantasies. So I really liked this, and I highly recommend if you loved the Hunger Games. This is a little bit darker, I think, but I haven't read the Hunger Games in a while, so maybe it is on par. And like I don't think I've read the Hunger Games since middle school, so maybe it is on par for how dark the Hunger Games is. But this one is definitely, there's some dark stuff going on. I can't believe I just made it through that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't speed run too many things and you got a good impression of all the books I talked about. But I'm filming a reading vlog right now that'll hopefully go up in a week or two. That's that. I will see y'all when I see y'all, and I hope you had a good time. Bye.